This is Season 5 of The Score, the Team Roping Journal's podcast, where we cover the roping industry from top to bottom. This is where the team roping world talks. We talk through tough subjects, we talk big wins, and we talk real issues affecting the community. I'm your host and editor of the Team Roping Journal, Chelsea Schaefer. Hey everyone, this is Chelsea Schaefer. Welcome back to The Score. If you are listening to this episode the day it drops, which, I hope you are, because this is a good one. It is Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving. I am so thankful for all of you, for our listeners, the fact that we have almost 2 million downloads over these last 4 years that we have been operating The Score. So thank you all so much. Thank you to the roping community for all of your support. Y'all are so special to us, and I wouldn't work anywhere else. So this episode we have been saving for right before the finals. I'm going to give you the background on how it came about. You see, for roping.com, we traveled to Clay Cooper's house once a year to spend 2 days shooting a ton of videos. Well, this year we went right before the Reno Open, and it was really, really unpleasant. So we were roping for 2 days, but pretty quickly we decided on that second day that it was impossible to rope in the wind that we had. So the first year we went to Clay's, it was a firestorm in the mountains and lots of people lost their homes. It was horrible. And so we were shooting in smoke with ash and soot. And then this year it was just a straight windstorm, 40, 50 mile an hour winds the whole time. So by the second day, we sat down with Jake and Clay. I asked them to tell us some stories, and we did a lot of dummy roping, so anything we could do to stay out of the wind. One of the things that came up, of course, with Jake was Junior Nogueira and their history together, because though we've heard that story a whole bunch of different ways over the last, 2014, so last 8 years, sorry, math, over the last 8 years, I don't think I've ever heard it this way that Jake told us that I'm going to let you all listen to today on the podcast. Now, I did send this to Junior, and he was super emotional. So here, after the NFR, I'm going to sit Junior down, and we're going to talk about this story from his perspective, and then we're going to put a cool video together so you all can see it over on roping.com. But this is your sneak peek to this whole series that we shot with Jake and Clay in the wind, getting out of the wind. And this is just an exceptional story that you can really hear everything that Junior has meant to Jake, and from a perspective that I don't know that you've gotten to hear anywhere else. So I am so grateful that Jake and Clay have been on our team for this many years, back since 1997, as we were Spin to Win Rodeo, and I was in junior high school, or elementary school. Sorry, Jake and Clay, and sorry, Kendra. But they have been in with us with the Spin to Win team, and then now with the Team Roping Journal team for the duration of our history. And we are so grateful that these legends are, they're batting for the home team. So thank you guys, and thank you all for listening, and happy Thanksgiving.
Well, that was just the stage of my life where my youngest boy had just graduated and was going off to college. And so this was kind of, my wife has been the glue to our relationship and raising the kids. I mean, she was basically the mother and the father of our children, because when I would come home, I wanted to be the dad. I wanted to play, I wanted to be my best friend, and she took them to the basketball camps and the games and the school functions, and I got to come in on the good times. And so my youngest boy had just graduated, and I kind of decided just to kind of semi-retire, but I had a pretty good horse, and I was doing a roping school right before the NFR, and there was a friend of mine called me and said, hey, there's a boy from Brazil that I met, and he's over here, and he would like to come and meet you. And I told him, I said, I've got a roping school for these Canadians starting tomorrow, and I'm busy with that. And I said, how long is he going to be around? He said, he's going to be around till, I think, after the World Series finals. And I said, well, have him come after that. So we had it set up. Well, these Canadians come to the school, and there's this one guy, this Canadian guy that was staying with this fellow that called me. And so his name was Scott. And all Scott could do this whole time was brag about this kid from Brazil, how good this kid from Brazil was, and just on and on and on. And I told him, I said, Scott, you're full of bull. There's nobody. I said, I rope against the best ropers in the world, and there's nobody from another country that can rope as good as the American. There's no way. He goes, I'm telling you, I don't rope very good, but I know good ropers, and da-da-da-da-da. And so he's like, well, you care if we bring him tomorrow? And I said, well, I've already talked to Robert, and he's going to come after. Well, we don't care. We're just having fun. And so I said, well, if you guys don't care, I don't care. Bring him. So here comes Junior. And he's really hard to understand. I couldn't hardly understand him. But all day long, he would run down there. As soon as the last steer would go, and I remember he had this one of them big yellow hot shots. And he would jog down to the end and run the steers up, poke the steers in all day long. So I felt sorry for him. And so I told him, I said, and so the school started at 10 o'clock. I told him, I said, hey, tomorrow, I said, Scott, I said, you guys come an hour early, and I'll have a horse saddled, and I'll turn him some steers. So they show up the next morning at 10 o'clock in the morning, and there were some steers that were too rank for those guys to rope. So I intentionally sorted those off. And so honestly, I was going to try to not embarrass him, but I was going to prove to this guy that, there ain't nobody from Brazil. Okay, well, let's just see what you can do, hot shot. And so they bring in this horse, and he was a crappy horse. And so I had a practice horse there. And we got these strong steers. So, man, I'd come across there, and I'd stick it on one, and he would run by the corner and rope him on the wrong side, and this horse is jumping all around, and he'd flip his rope over and get a dally, and he's just every which way. And so I was like, you lucky sucker. So I'd rope and go a little faster. And then he would crossfire him, and I was like, that's a crossfire. Oh, no, Mr. Jake, it's no crossfire. I said, over here, it's a crossfire. Oh, no, it's no crossfire. So now then the next time, I'm like, so I'm getting, all right, you little shit. So, man, I'd rope on, I'd duck harder and try to give him an impossible shot. And he just keeps pulling these shots off. I was like, man, you lucky little sucker, you. And, man, I'd rope and duck even harder. And there's no telling. And so after a while, I'm like, man, that sucker, he is talented. He's not doing it the right way. I don't know how he's doing it, but he's doing it. So anyway, we do the school. And so after the school, the other guys, they're unsaddling their horses and getting ready to go back home. And so I get to visit with him. And so he tells me his story about how when he was 5 years old, that his dad went to a rodeo and had a heart attack and died. And I didn't realize, but he had already been over here once on a visa, and he went and worked for Robbie Schroeder, riding horses for him. But he told me, he said it was his dream to come to America and rope. So I don't know, we just kind of had a little bit of a bond there instantly. And so I told him, I said, well, maybe you could stay here. And we'll go. And I had no intentions of going. We'd just go around here, and I'd rope with him a little bit, and then that would be it. So I didn't even discuss it with my wife. And so he was supposed to go up to the World Series finals and rope with somebody, and he can't even speak English, but he speaks Portuguese, and my friend that he's staying with speaks Spanish, so they can communicate. So after the school, I got to go up to the NFR and do some endorsement stuff. And so on the way up, I spring the news on my wife that she was not a happy camper, because this is supposed to be our time together, So anyway, long story short, he comes up, ropes at the tour or the World Series finals. And so I tell Robert to have him just stand on on the curb out there, and I'll come by and pick him up. So I come driving up there, and here's Junior. He's got his cowboy hat on. He's got his little roller suitcase, and he's got his boots and spurs on, and he's got a green rope. So here we go. We head home, and so I take him in. I kind of get emotional about it. Anyway, so I introduce him to my wife, and so instantly they develop a bond, because we have 5 children, and so anyway, he became our 6th child, and so still to this day he calls her Mom, Tony. And so anyway, I didn't know he had no money. He had $500. And so, people always ask me, well, how did this all become? Well, I'm a strong believer, and he's God sent.
Okay, we're going to take a break, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about our sponsors today at Bimeda. Bimeda might just be the largest animal health company you've never heard of. Till now. Bimeda Animal Health's equine products have been trusted by veterinarians and horse owners since the 1960s, where their Irish roots began. Bimeda is one of the largest producers of dewormers for horses like Equimax, Bimectin, Duramectin, and Exodus. World-renowned equine athletes rely on polyglycan, a patented formula designed to replace lost or damaged synovial fluid, and Confidence EQ's 1% pheromone gel that reduces and prevents equine stress, just to name a few of their branded products. Bimeda encourages you to consult with your equine veterinarian before using any equine products for your horse. Also, please visit BimedaUS.com to learn more about their full product offerings and where you can buy them.
And so, anyway, we got him a horse. We bought him a horse, and we started roping around there. And instantly, we started winning. So we got him a permit. We went down to Odessa. We won 3,000 or 4,000 over there. Then we went to the Denver qualifier, got qualified there, and so he's still on his permit. So then we go to Rapid City, and we got in a bad car wreck. We hit black ice and shot across a freeway and hit someone head on. So we had to borrow a truck. Well, thankfully, none of us were hurt. And we ended up having to borrow a truck and a trailer. Then we drove down to San Antonio, and instantly we started winning. And so that was the path and it was just, it was really, really hard for him, because I can remember when I first started with Alan. That first year, it was really, really hard on me, because I didn't know how to enter. I didn't know anything. I was just tagged along and just, drove when it was my time to drive, and so he was kind of the same way. It was really hard for him, because the communication with the other guys, and I'm sure the pressure of roping with me. But one of the things that I admired about him, because I've roped with a lot of young people that's coming up and want to get in the business, and they don't take it very well. But from day one, he had the confidence. He told me one time, Jake, I'm no scared of these guys. And so I knew at that point that, that he had, golly, that he had what it's going to take to be a great roper.
Why does it make you emotional?
Well, my kids didn't follow in my footsteps, and which they took a different path. And so to be able to have, so he's basically like my team roping son. So, golly, and I'm not even an emotional guy, but it's kind of hard for me to talk about it. But so sheesh, it's terrible. He's basically my world champion team roping son.
Did you know he was going to name his son Jake?
I didn't. No. That was pretty cool too. Let's go to another subject.
No, I want to stay on this side.
Yeah, it makes it hard, but I really admire what he's done, because I can't envision what, the path that, to follow his dream, but to come to America and to be able to do it. I could see him being a great roper in Brazil and dominating down there, but I know that I couldn't go to Brazil and do what he's done to get where he's at now. I mean, that's pretty spectacular. It'd be different if you were a fighter or anything like that. Did you come in here and get in a ring and try to beat somebody up? But to come to somebody else's turf, to somebody else's country, and to establish yourself, pretty amazing feat.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah. And so actually there can be, and apparently there's some other, Junior tells me that there's some other guys over there that rope really, really well too. Thank God that they don't come over here. And you see that in the PBR too. Those guys, they're phenomenal. But those guys are hungry over there. I mean, this is a whole life, different life for them. It's an opportunity too. Us Americans, we take things for granted. But those guys, they come over here, and I mean, this is to improve, their life and their family's life. So really, really, really impressive.